thought we were doing that. Clear your throats and grab a chair. Old School, New School is back on the air. Noah Savage is rejoined by Pretty Ricky. Rick Wolf back from his sabbatical, but somebody's got to pay the bills around here.
That is absolutely correct, Noah. Okay, we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get right into this. And, I was wondering if you were going to take a knee during the opening
Wait,
music.
before we get into it, I have to recap last episode for you. I don't know if you're aware of this.
No?
But I had to ride solo. Couldn't
Yes, I
leave
know.
everybody without any content. And
So it's sort of like new school.
it was just new school into the void.
Yeah.
And can you stop taking emails during the show, maybe?
I'm sorry, man.
And
Busy guy.
the ratings, I think you'll be happy to hear, were nearly exactly half.
They flattened out.
So, no, it just shows that half our fans are here for me and half of them are here for you. So,
I like to think that the smarter,
nobody's here for both.
the smarter, better-looking half, tunes in for me.
Yeah, and to that end, we've got some listener emails. So I guess we could close out the show.
Oh,
with
yeah,
that.
we'll go to the mailbag later on.
But, it's good to have you back. And I have more respect, I think, now for the Mike Franceses of the world who sit there alone for 5 hours. Not that I love him anyway, but I was like, I could easily do an hour. And then I made it to 15 minutes, and I was pretty exhausted.
I did. It's funny. I did my my radio show on FAN. I had pre-recorded it, and it was the first time I literally just talked myself. I did like a Sunday morning sermon, and I got to tell you, that's hard to do because not to have somebody bounce ideas off of or get some feedback from callers, but it was a pre-recorded show and a lot of things I wanted to talk about in terms of youth sports and the issues that parents today face. And, I had a lot of things to cover, but it's hard. At least with Mike, he used to have, of course, Chris Russo as a partner. Then he went on his own, and he has lots of callers.
Well, he's got callers, right. But he'll do like 10, 15 minutes up top, just open it up.
The thing about Francesa is he's doing, 5 hours a day, 5 hours plus.
Yeah.
Well,
he lets you know that, which is great.
Yeah, but
the other guy's doing 3 hours, 4 hours. I do 5 hours. It's no problem.
Yeah, but what he doesn't understand is that nobody listens to him for 5 hours. So he may make a point at 1:45 in the afternoon,
right?
And he comes back to the same point at 3:20 because he forgot what he said 2 hours earlier,
right?
And he comes back again 2 hours after that. He repeats
sometimes
himself.
Different take. Complete 180 between 1:15 and 4:20.
That's another thing. He'll change his point of view. But all right, let's get into this.
All right, so we're in the thick of things here. It's already dark outside. It's about 6:30, but it still seems
it's called nighttime. No,
fall is upon us, and we're in the thick of the MLB playoffs.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking.
I thought we were talking about the umpires.
No, not yet. We're going to talk about the NFL today.
Okay.
They got together. Roger Goodell, basically came out and said, well, we met with the players' union and we met with the owners, and we all decided that we didn't want the players to kneel during the national anthem.
Right.
And I'm thinking, didn't we already know that?
I thought the news was that they aren't going to require them to stand. But despite the fact that they're not going to require them to stand,
but they didn't
officially. They don't want them to kneel.
Yes, they said. Goodell said there's about 6 or 7 guys who are players who feel strongly about this, and he obviously realizes he can't command them because that's to do with their right of free speech. And I know you're going to tell me, well, if you work for a company and the company says this is the uniform you have to wear and this is how you have to greet customers, we're paying you to do this.
Correct.
So what's the difference between doing that as opposed to, asking your football players to stand for the national anthem?
Yeah.
I hear you on that. But the fact of the matter is what's driving all of this is the fact that the TV ratings for the NFL are down 7.5% from last year at this time. And that's a huge drop. And Noah, I don't I could be wrong, but I just don't think there are a lot of or millions of Americans who have now decided, you know what, I may be a Steelers fan, but that guy in the Steelers, he's not standing, so I'm not going to watch the Steelers anymore.
Right.
I don't think people do that.
I think people do it, but I think to reach nearly a 7% drop, it doesn't seem like it would all come from that.
No, I think there have to be other factors, and I'm sure that the NFL has other metrics they went through. Maybe the games were bad. We discussed that earlier on a previous show that because they aren't hitting so much in practice, that maybe the guys aren't well equipped to tackle better. I don't know, or the games are just bad matchups.
Not good. It's not good optics though. Either way, if you're an owner or you're running the league and you go, people are kneeling, and there's a 7% drop in ratings.
Well,
it's a little bit like Trump got elected and the stock market is the highest it's ever been.
Right.
It might not be correlation or causation, but there is correlation there, right?
There has, yeah. It's sort of like, well, there is some smoke. I'm not sure there's fire there, but it certainly looks like to the average, person that, well, that's definitely a cause and effect.
But what else
situation.
could it be? I mean,
I don't know, but I have to tell you, I just don't think Americans are that outraged that they would say, well, I mean, because my sense, personal sense, old school sense, is that if you were born and bred on football, NFL style,
yeah,
and for Sundays, for the 8 or 9 Sundays of the fall, when you plan out the entire day with a cookout and your buddies to go down to a tailgate, a party, and to go to the game, and then you drive home. I mean, that's you're not going to say, you know what, guys, we're not going to have the barbecue this year. We're not going to the Steelers game. You know why? Because one of the guys won't stand for the national anthem. Well, and I'm not going to. I'm not normally going to watch the game when they go on the road.
Right. Well, I'm going to actually. I'm going to hit you with some knowledge right now because this just occurred to me.
This would be a change of pace.
So the NFL reached the boiling point of the highest ratings ever, either last season or the season before.
Yes.
And what was the most highly advertised thing of all besides beer, trucks, and what's the third one during NFL games? Daily fantasy gambling.
That's correct.
Legal. You could do it in New York. I had it on the phone. I was doing it for NBA. I never won. And then there were some stories that said the people winning the daily fantasy games are actually working at the company. And they have advanced algorithms, and they're playing 1,500 teams for $10 each, and they're going to win most of the time. Since then, they've been outlawed in New York and some other states, and now you're seeing a decline in the ratings. If you think about the two most popular sporting events, NFL Sunday and NCAA men's basketball tournament, they're gambling sports.
No,
and that's what I'm going to point the finger at.
Okay, well, and please do not point a finger at me.
Pointing a finger right at you, it's all your fault.
It is. If I had known that you were so addicted to wagering and gambling, which is obviously a biblical sin.
You maybe have not given me the blessing.
That's correct. You obviously said, Alyssa, I'm not sure this guy is the right guy for you.
Yeah, but I do. I don't even know how it's possible, but on my phone, I have a CBS Sports app, and I pick my team, and there's little dollar signs, and it's a weekly pick'em game, so it's $10.
I'm not going to accept that as an excuse.
My point is, how is that possible? Why aren't I on some dolk website? I'm literally on CBS Sports.
Clearly,
and there's dollar signs on it.
Clearly, you're on the dark web.
But
and to your point, quite seriously, everybody will tell you the reason why the NFL gets huge numbers and why you see at the bottom of the TV screen on Fox or CBS or ESPN, you see the scroll as today's stars, is because they all know you're playing fantasy football, and you don't really care.
Which is
what?
Gambling.
Of course. So they really don't care. They know you don't care if the Jaguars beat Denver or not, but they do care if you're making sure you're keeping your fantasy league going, because that's money for them. They're taking a piece of every wager, as you call it, or every time you sign up to be involved in that. And that's why the league is so popular. Everybody from Mike Francesa on down would tell you, if you somehow outlawed point spreads, gambling on NFL games, and fantasy football, if that suddenly went away tomorrow, the ratings wouldn't drop by 7.5%. They would drop by 50%. Because people don't care much about football. They just want to make money on picking their players.
I mean, I like it 10,000% more now that I have a pick in every single game.
Nice.
Think about it. Berman used to do it on the Swami. You get on there, he picks against the spread.
Everybody's done it forever.
But I never knew as a little kid going, what the hell is he talking about? Why is he picking the score to be 12-9? You know, why so specific? Nobody ever explains that to you, but then when you pull back, you go, that's what it's all about.
Someday, Noah, I'll have to explain to you about point shaving scandals.
Yeah, well, please. I did it like unintentionally, I think. Moving on.
You mean missing shots on purpose?
Speaking of, that's right. Speaking of corruption.
Yes.
And complete farces and, you know, giant piles of BS.
We're talking about your favorite coach, Rick Pitino.
That's right.
He says he's owed $44 million from the University of Louisville, that paragon of academic excellence.
Isn't he? Well, we should also talk about UNC while we're on that.
Oh, we'll get to them in a second.
All right.
Because clearly they did nothing wrong. But what do you think, now that he's officially fired, what do you think Pitino, let me phrase it this way.
Okay.
Pitino is, you know what the word oleaginous means?
What?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had that once. I had to get antibiotics, I believe. Is that a foot fungus?
Yeah, it's oleaginous means oily. It means slippery. It means wherever Pitino has been as a coach, he's always left in his wake an oily stain you can't get out. Okay?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Sure.
Fine. So you knew going into Louisville that because he knows of his past and how things stick to him or don't stick to him, he must have had his lawyers put together a deal with Tom George, the AD, who, of course, also has been booted out of there, that says if something ever happens where it looks like I should be indicted, but I don't, Mrs. Pitino, I still want all my money. In other words, the money's guaranteed.
Even if it's something happens that
even if I'm caught having sex with a woman on the floor of a Pizza Hut, I still get my money.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this fair to say?
Yeah. And
so what I'm saying is, so Pitino must have said, now he went back to Louisville to the board and said, I don't care what happened about the sneakers. I'm getting my $44 million.
I will say it does look suspicious when you try to remove an ethics clause of a contract, right?
Yes.
You go, listen, I am planning on doing some unethical things here.
Yes.
So Section 2, Paragraph B.
Delete.
I've just redlined that part about me being a good person.
Redact it, because the fact is he knows he's a shady guy. He knows he attracts shady people. And I guarantee you, he said to his lawyer, if there's anything about a morality clause or ethics or anything, get it out, because I'm there because his perspective is I'm making money for the program.
He's right.
I'm putting Louisville on the map. I'm getting the TV contracts.
Yeah.
That may be all true, but the fact is you got to do it while you're basically a hurt.
But let's paint the picture of what's different about this. Number one, the feds are involved. So usually in a scandal with the NCAA, you've broken some rules. You might get the quote-unquote death penalty, meaning you'll never coach again, postseason, recruits. This is the first time that I can recall where it's been literally the FBI, where they're in a room, they're making a deal, because this isn't point shaving. This is just recruiting.
Well, I'm talking about point shaving is feds.
Yeah, there's been feds in there before. We looked at, was it either Providence or Boston College?
Boston College. Yeah. And then before that, back in the early 50s, was CCNY and all that stuff. But
this is just recruiting money trail. That's, again, and 2017 is the year of known secrets.
I also say, to me, this is a death knell of the NCAA. Because now the NCAA, didn't even know about this investigation, apparently, until the indictments came down.
Yeah.
Like, well, NCAA, that's your job. Your job is to oversee and the rules and regulations when it comes to the NCAA. You weren't even aware this is going on.
Morally, I don't even know if I have a problem with this, though, because let's paint the picture. Adidas can pay Rick Pitino cash money and also give him gear. And if you play on his team, you got to wear Adidas.
Right.
Adidas can also pay some AAU coach cash money, legal, above board.
Yep.
And you got to wear his gear, kids.
Correct.
If the kid who has a relationship with the coach, who has a relationship with Pitino, wants to go to an Adidas school, and Adidas goes, hey, we're already paying these two jerks. Why don't we pay you some cash? Now it's illegal. Why? Well, why is that bad? I get why it's breaking the rules, but why is it immoral? What's immoral about that?
You're going to make the explanation that it's a victimless crime. I mean, you got a kid who comes from a single parent family. Money is really tight. The mom's working 3 jobs, and the kid says to his high school coach, "I'm gonna go to Louisville anyhow.
Money's not tight. Give me the money.
I need $100,000 so we can pay the rent. What's the problem?"
Yeah. So let's say it's me, and I'm going to put myself back in my 18-year-old self. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, feels great to be this skinny again. It's amazing. But second of all right, it came down to Princeton or Yale. So now, since I played on a team that was like a fake Nike team, we tried to be a Nike team. We never got signed, AAU.
Yeah.
Some guy comes up to me and goes, "Listen, we know you're leaning towards Princeton, but here's $25,000 in the bag if you go to Princeton." I go, "This is great. I was going to go there anyway. Now I've got a bag of cash, and I'm the one playing. Why shouldn't I get the money?"
Well, this gets, again, and I've heard that argument as well, that, how is this hurting anybody? I mean, if anything, you're benefiting, at the end of the chain, you're benefiting the poor kid who, it's like when Mike Krzyzewski told me when he was, a huge, huge critic of the leaving
One and
early.
done. Yep.
Yeah, the one and done, of course, still is.
Even a critic of 3 and dones and 2,
He didn't want any of his players to leave unless they played 4 years.
Right.
And the first guy to leave was Elton Brand. And Elton Brand went to Coach K and said, "Look, my mother lives in a small apartment in the middle of a slum in Peekskill, New York. I know if I sign now after my junior year, I get guaranteed $10 million just as a signing bonus. If I stay here at Duke and I go out next year and hurt my knee, that money's gone."
Yeah.
He said, "Coach, what do I do here?" And Krzyzewski said, "Elton, I can't in good conscience tell you not to sign because that could happen."
Right. Now, what if Coach K had said, "I need you on the team next year. You're going to get paid anyway. I'm going to loan you $200,000. And that stuff happens too.
Yes.
Where you go, "Well, what's the problem with that?" So the main problem is that Mark Emmert, freaking NCAA president, and his fraudulent 401(c)(3) nonprofit,
501c3.
Guess what? I can't wait till we start making some serious money with this podcast. And we go, "Actually, you know what? It's a nonprofit. After expenses, we're breaking even."
First of all, we're not on.
Plus, we're helping people. Why not?
We have not filed paperwork for a 501c3
Why
status.
can't we just become a nonprofit? They're doing it.
It's a little more complicated. That you have to actually show some sort of benefit to part of society, which has to be approved by the IRS.
People who listen to this, their life gets better.
Fine.
They've told me.
Now, let me just explain something to you about the NCAA, which clearly has become just a dinosaur overnight, because I don't know how they tap dance around the North Carolina thing, but they did.
Yeah, well, it's amazing because
Is there a problem?
I think you have a mosquito in your studio here.
Oh,
that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a buzz.
Well, I'm sorry.
What month is it? How resilient is that mosquito?
It's 75 degrees in October. We commune with nature here.
Literally, it's like the apocalypse is coming. There's mosquitoes in October. Anyway, what's amazing about the UNC situation is that they actually found that there were paper classes, which is you don't show up and you turn in 2 papers. And they found out that the person grading them was the basketball office's secretary, who also admitted, this is all public, that sometimes she wouldn't read the paper and she'd just give them random grades.
Right.
And the NCAA said, not really our...
For them to have said...
not really our responsibility.
This comes on the heels of the FBI investigating Adidas and Louisville and everything else. And after... this has been the investigation to the UNC has gone on for years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they didn't want to do something.
They won, I believe, at least 1 and maybe 2 championships during the investigation.
They didn't want to, cast any aspersions on Dean Smith and his legacy or on Roy Williams. But the fact is, for them to come out and say, "You know what? Here's the problem. It just wasn't. There were bogus classes in the African American Studies program." But it wasn't just limited to basketball and football players. Right. It was open to all students.
Equal opportunity fraudulent classes.
So they said, the NCAA said, that it isn't up to us to grade or to judge the validity of individual courses offered by universities. Therefore, we put it back on UNC to decide what they want to do. And that's just wrong.
Yeah, but isn't that exactly what they do?
But
their job is to go in.
No, it's not what they do.
What do they do?
They can come in and put you under a death penalty.
No, but that's what I mean. They said it's not our place to judge the academic validity. Yes, it is. That's exactly your place.
That is exactly what
That's
I'm
like
saying.
a ref being like, look, you took 10 steps, but it's just not my place to judge who's traveling here.
No, let's just pause for a second because this is one of those rare moments where you and I both
Ooh,
agree.
Wow.
And I mean, to me, it's like, are you kidding me? What do you do then if you don't act as the watchdog?
Yeah.
You already missed the big one, the big deal with Adidas. Now you're missing this on UNC because you're afraid to slap them because it's UNC and it's Dean Smith.
Cha-ching, all day long.
This is
In
why
the Final Four every year.
you're going to find now that the ACC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or somebody's going to say, you know what, the NCAA, if you're just going to tell us it's up to us to enforce our own rules, we really don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Why not just play in the ACC?
I mean,
You
we already
got
got
the ACC network.
how much money does the Big Ten network make?
I don't know.
A lot, and they don't need.
Do
They didn't do that with the NCAA. They did it on their own.
They hiring? Let's move on.
Okay.
All right. Has the time, and you got to set the table a little bit because I read a little bit about a bad call, but I didn't.
Oh, about baseball and the umpires and strikes.
Has it come time to replace baseball umpires, especially with the calling of balls and strikes with machines?
Right, Noah, you came to me when you asked for Alyssa's hand in marriage, and I asked you what kind of job prospects or careers you were considering. I'll never forget you said, well, I've always wanted to work for a newspaper.
Okay.
And I said, no, what? That's not going to work. Newspapers are dead. And they said, it's okay because I also want to be a baseball umpire.
Yeah.
I said, no, what? That's not going to work either. Baseball umpires, these guys make $400,000 to $500,000 a year.
What?
And that's what they make. And
They
they
in the game.
that's what they make. And it's like Marge Schott, the old crazy old codger who used to own the Cincinnati Reds, was once asked about baseball scouts and why the Cincinnati had so many scouts on their payroll, and because she didn't like having to pay these guys, and she said, all these guys all they do is they go to baseball games. yeah, they're scouts, right? Same with baseball umpires. They got to realize that now, in this day and age where everything is televised, everything's slow-mo, everything's on video, everything is everywhere on video, that and their best calls are being overturned routinely. It's only a matter of time they're going to set up and have TV cameras working home plate and say, what, we don't need you as an umpire because you call too wide a strike zone, you call too narrow a strike zone. Well, I'll make it unified. One strike zone serves everybody. And you know what? We're going to have robots, artificial intelligence. We don't need you guys anymore.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to do, right? You just do it with the lasers. You have a little light behind that goes beep, strike, beep, ball.
Exactly right.
And then you stick a guy at second base, and you stick a guy at third, and you stick a guy at every base to make the not out call, which is done half the time, it seems like, by video anyway.
You ask why games are so long? Games only because
of replay?
Yes, every time there's a close play, he's out. Okay,
yeah, people work
replay.
Slow too on the mound. I mean, that didn't take, and then they said keep one foot in the box, and that didn't really take.
The reason why these games take so long is because the networks put in a 2.5, 3 minute breaks for ads.
Yep.
While you're sitting in the stands freezing your fanny off,
right.
They're going to do 3 minutes for a commercial timeout because they're bringing a new pitcher in.
Yep.
Back in the day, I think I told you this, back in the 1920s and 30s, before they had night games, before they had TV commercials, a Major League Baseball game, the average length of the time was 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
an appropriate length for any type of endeavor.
Yeah. So I mean, but those days are gone. I will tell you, at some point in the not too distant future, when I'm a grandfather.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I'll be telling my grandson, there was a time when they actually had men stand behind home plate and call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
And he'll think I'm crazy.
And they're going to go, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a horrific ref last night. This is a sidebar, but
oh man,
he told me, men's league game. Guy goes right into my chest. I'm moving a little bit, and the guy goes, "You can't be moving." And I go, "You absolutely can be moving. You just have to be in legal guarding position." And the guy goes, "No, you got to be stationary." And I was like, "Why would you want to become the ref if you don't even know the rules?" So he didn't like that. But
I mean, did you tell him who you were?
He didn't care. He didn't seem to care.
You should say to him, like, perhaps you've heard me on the Ivy League Digital Network.
Have you heard me on Old School, New School? All right, well, let's move on. We have one more topic.
Yeah,
Wait.
the topic is how in the world is Columbia 5-0 in football?
In football,
Now, I understand
I know even you don't care about that.
they've beaten some major powerhouses like Wagner
Yeah.
and Marist and Princeton,
Yep.
but they're 5-0.
Wait, is this like? Wait a second, but I don't get it.
Yeah, nobody gets it. How is this happening? I think that Patino somehow is involved with Columbia football.
I would never, ever disparage Ivy League athletics. You know that. I have nothing but the most respect for them.
The Princeton
And
only,
let me tell you something. What a great job they do on the Ivy League Digital Network.
did Princeton only bring like 8 guys to the game against Columbia? How come they
Well, what do you
lose?
think I am, Jamel Hill over here? I'm not going to talk about my great employer. Those Columbia football guys are some of the best athletes around. All right,
Okay.
time for some listener email.
All right, Lister, let's go to the mailbag.
You know what I almost did? Here's how dumb I am.
Yeah.
I almost read this guy's full name.
Oh, I can't do that.
All right, so this is from Todd S.
Okay.
Love the show. Second time caller, long time listener. Why do MLB playoff? Wait, why do teams in MLB playoffs spray champagne after each series? Not sure if it's also done in the NBA, but the NHL people are superstitious about even touching the trophy you get for winning the East or West. Not trying to belittle the accomplishments of winning a playoff series, but shouldn't they reserve the champagne for winning it all? Similarly, why is there an ALCS, NLCS MVP? Why do stats restart? I can't understand in World Series why it may restart because of AL, NL, and the DH.
How long is his email?
But isn't it? It's really hard to read too because of my cracked screen and because I can't read. But isn't it more exciting for fans and important for coaches to see how players are playing for the entirety of the playoffs? So there's a two-part question. One, let's start with the champagne part.
Yeah.
I've always wondered this. Can you explain this?
I don't know what the big deal is. Every time when I played the minors,
Yeah.
every time we won a game, we had champagne.
Yeah, just champagne, the champagne shower.
Yes, of course.
But isn't that relatively new?
Yes.
But there was very limited playoffs until about 1995, correct?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, back in the day,
Okay. Explain how it worked. The American League best record
if you won the
would play the NL best record.
yeah, there used to be back in the day.
This was called the World Series.
You had 2 leagues, the American and National League.
Okay.
And there were 8 teams in both leagues.
Okay.
And whoever had the best record at the end of the regular season, which was only 154 games,
Yeah.
the best team won the American League, played the best team in the National League.
This was called winning the pennant.
No, it's called World Series.
No, but when you had the best.
Oh, you won the pennant. Yeah. So there were no wild cards, no playoffs, and that nonsense. And as I recall, when you won the American League or won the National League, yeah, you would celebrate. It'd be a mild celebration. You know, maybe some guys would shake up some beer cans, that kind of stuff. But the sense was you don't really celebrate for real until you win the World Series. Then you bring out the champagne and soak each other. But now, as you said, you win the wild card, you progress. You win this and that. Everybody gets MVP. No, that's all. It's all just window dressing. To my way of thinking, it's just another vehicle for sponsors to come in and say, "Hey, this MVP is brought to you by Chevrolet or by whoever," and that's just nonsense.
Well, when did the champagne start? In the 90s?
No,
Before that,
2000s.
Then they started spraying champagne in the. It seems insane to me.
It is insane, and as you know from all the champagne you had in the Princeton, when you get it in your eyes, it stings.
Yeah, so now they wear the ski goggles.
Yeah, now they have to wear ski goggles. But I mean, it's just silly. And as I said,
that's soft.
What's soft?
Don't put on goggles if you're celebrating with champagne. You want the burning sting of victory.
I understand if you win it and you're done and you won the World Series or the NBA championships, but the problem is when you do it when you win the wild card or a divisional championship, usually you have to play the very next day or the day after, and that's your eyes hurt. So
your answer for why is there an ALCS and NLCS MVP is so they can sponsor more stuff.
Correct.
Very jaded look. And then why did the stats restart?
I don't know that. I think that's
one
silly.
Thing I've always thought is they should do an MVP they should do the like in the NBA Finals. NBA Finals MVP. But then they also, I believe, used to have a playoff MVP. Meaning, who's the best player for the whole run?
Does anybody remember this?
You
stuff?
don't win it. You don't win it in 4 games. You win it in 16 games.
I have to tell you, no, I don't think anybody cares about that stuff.
I not only care about it, but once a year, I list out every NBA MVP that there's ever been.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Over a couple of champagnes.
I was going to say, that sounds like you. That sounds exactly like you.
Who are the two that people always forget? Moses Malone and Nate Tiny Archibald. That's about it for Old School, New School. Subscribe, rate, and review. I'm Noah Savage, as always, joined by Rick Wolf.